Alrighty, hi everyone, good morning. I hope you are fairly caffeinated now and also soaking up some vitamin D with that delicious sunshine outside. So as Eli mentioned, I'm here to share with you how to regularly and without a lot of extra effort find, capture, and share good stories about your organization. But first and foremost, how many here have heard of TechSoup? All right, oh my goodness, great show of hands. Thank you. So just as a reminder, TechSoup's mission is to build a dynamic bridge that leverages technology to enable connections and innovations to build a more equitable planet. A great way of doing that is through storytelling, right? Storytelling is the best way to build relationships, to cultivate donors, to raise money, and that's because emotional, not rational analysis is what causes people to take action, the type of action we need at our organizations. So, really quickly in these next couple minutes, how to build a system and culture for sharing stories, and then improving interviewing skills, story types in your digital toolbox, and lastly, repurposing stories and making informed channel decisions. That's actually more than 3 things, but let's do this. All right, so first, finding and collecting how to build a system and culture for sharing stories. Starting with planning your storytelling. Creating a document of important moments and holidays throughout the year is just going to set up your team for success. And that comes with the second point here of creating a system with people in place, right? So having a story finder who can collect those stories, having a story bank, and that can be something as simple as a Google form, to make it as easy as possible for anyone in your organization to share stories. And that all sits on this platform of creating and cultivating a storytelling organization. So really, it should be everyone's job, down to, from executives to volunteers, to collect great stories. And a way you can integrate that is by just a couple ideas here. First, in your meetings. You can start and end your meetings with, hey, who heard of a really great story this week or this month? Or, did we get a quote from that client that we just saw come into the office this week? It can be something as simple as that. Or an idea I really like is a story cafe. And you can make this a little bit more entertaining. You can get people together, maybe bring some popcorn into the picture, and share some really great impact stories from that month or quarter. All right, second, improving interview skills, story types in your digital toolbox. So first, becoming a good interviewer is so critical. You want to think like a journalist, and that means doing your research beforehand of who you're going to be interviewing. That's going to help you think of the narrative arc for your story, right? With that beginning, that end, and that climax that is really building to, like, what's that conflict and how are we going to elicit emotion to get people to listen to our stories. But that being said, you don't want to stay, too strict to a script. You want to be curious and ask good follow-up questions. And then the second point here, trying out different types of stories. There are so many places in terms of where to look for your stories, and that can be anything from showing behind the scenes of your organization. You can profile a client or a volunteer, or even for a totally fresh perspective, you can ask someone from the community to interview you. And then lastly, building a digital toolbox. We know there are so many tools out there right now that make it cheap, fast, and easy to capture our stories, from video, podcast, to infographics. So just a couple tools that you can use, and there's many, many more, but these are, some of my favorites. And then lastly, repurposing stories and making informed channel decisions. So lots of content I'm covering here, but I really hope that you walk away that success just takes one good story. There's so many different ways to slice and dice, from using a great quote in a newsletter to a podcast, or even your donor thank you. So finding different ways to really hit a home run with that one story. It's about how to repackage it in many different ways. And then making informed channel decisions. So we know there are way too many channels out there to be able to embrace them all. So what you can figure out in terms of where should I be is knowing, well, what types of channels are my audience consuming? What type of content do they like to consume? And you can do that by polling them in an email, asking them directly, or you can have, if you have some kind of form on your website, you can poll them that way as well. And with that, TechSoup has lots of different products and services for digital storytelling and beyond. And you can learn more about our donated discounted software and hardware program, our expert-led TechSoup courses, and free skills training webinars. So with that, thank you so much. I hope you grabbed one nugget of information. Thanks so much.